my friend coming over there. Who needs hymns? Who needs hymns when you have theater? Not very good at maintenance. And isn't that a lot of us? Oh, I can't meditate every day. I can't pray the way I need to pray every day. I'm busy. And I ask you, your time, the time you put in, the ratio between meditation and worry. How much time a day have you allotted for worrying?
Countless hours.
I'm guessing more than you've allotted for meditation. There you go. See, it's so simple. It is so simple. Now let me tell you something. We have great cause to be glad that we are here today for a common reason. And the reason is, it's the realization of God present and active in our minds and in our lives. That's what we're here for today, whether you like the word God or not. It all amounts to the same thing. It's the word I use. But it's we are here for the realization of divine energy, active and present in our minds and in our lives. Divine life, active and present in our minds and in our lives. We are here for a common cause today. We have all walked up those steps today for a common cause. So many of you have brought friends here today, family today, to share in that common cause, which is the realization of divine life, divine wisdom, divine love, active and present in our minds and in our lives. When I first began to go to Unity, I decided to go to Unity Village. You must understand something. I'm here today because I was invited to be at a Unity church in 1996. A friend of mine said, would you like to go to church with me this Sunday? And I thought, okay, I've been in church a long time. And he said, yeah, it's called Unity. I'd never heard of Unity. And it was Lincoln Center, Eric Butterworth Church. And I went there. And everything, look where we are together today. We are here together today with me because I said yes to that invitation. So look out, people. Who knows how your life is going to change because you said yes to this holy invitation. And so I welcome you into our sanctuary today, and may it become your sanctuary. You see, it's not my sanctuary. I'm an employee here. Now I get to share in the divine energy and everything. But when I came because it was yours, and it's mine too. But I have a different role than everybody else has. When I was graduating, I started taking classes pretty early on in Unity because I needed these spirituality classes. Some might say, we're brainwashed, but quite frankly, my brain was filthy. I needed a good washing. Because I thought I could do it myself. I thought I had to figure it out. I thought, the world was a dangerous place, but that wasn't working. Just wasn't working for me. And fortunately, I had a friend who said, would you like to go? He doesn't speak to me today, but that's beside the point. He was the messenger. He dropped me off at the door. And then it was up to me what I did with it. So I started taking classes towards becoming a licensed Unity teacher. One of my first classes, I started taking classes in 1997, and in January, and this teacher up there, he said, well, it's $15 to take this class for credit. And I thought, well, I've certainly wasted $15 a lot of times. And for $15, I got 10 credits.
Wow.
And a 10-week class. Now it's $36. Times have changed. As haven't we all. And but anyway, but I didn't look, like I said, I didn't look at how many credits I needed. I looked at the material I was studying. Because I so needed this. This was the next step in my prayer life. Because by the time I got to Unity, I had a very active prayer life as a result of 12-step recovery. And so this was the next step. This was the next step in just embracing a concept of God. So I'm at Unity Village for one of my licensed teacher graduations. Unity Village is outside of Kansas City, Missouri. It's a lovely place, 1,400 acres, and it was built there at a cult headquarters, as it says. We're not a cult, but we are listed in books about cults. It's bizarre. I don't know how we're a cult. You don't have to, obviously, you don't have to dress any particular way. There's no real dogma. There's no way you have to believe. But there are. We do teach the law of cause and effect, and some people don't care for that. Anyway. Laura Barrett Bennett, Reverend Laura Barrett Bennett was the Bible teacher. She was my first teacher, but she was giving the keynote speech that night. And something she said that struck home for me. She said, you all are here tonight because you have chosen to see God differently. And I thought, yes. That's why I'm in unity. Because I have chosen to see God differently. While God is source and supply, God is no longer the personality that will deliver to me my ego. God is the source and supply, G-O-D, and I had to see God differently than I had to see God differently than my mother saw God and my grandparents saw God. I still embraced the concept of God, but in a much larger way. I was seeking to expand God rather than keeping God small. And so I did that, but I thought, I'm here from my childhood church and everything, and I thought of a story. Some of you have heard this before, but it's one of my favorite stories about a man who was trapped on a desert island for years and years and years. And when it came time that finally a rescue boat came and found him, and they got to this island, and they were shocked. He had built up this island. I mean, it was gorgeous. He had a dock he had built. He had little things down here. But up on the hill were these three buildings, these three beautiful buildings. And they said, what's up? And he said, well, I built all this. And they said, you built all this? And he said, yeah. And they said, and the rescuer said, but those three buildings up there, you built those? He said, oh, yeah, I built them. And they said, well, what are they? And he said, oh, well, the one in the middle, that's my house. They said, that's your house? It's beautiful. And he said, well, the one on the right, what's that? And he said, well, that's my church. You built your own church? Yeah, wow. What about the one on the left? He said, oh, that's the church I used to go to. You've chosen to see God differently. That was my big aha that night and that graduation. When like I said, I came to Unity the first time in 1990, or I don't know, maybe 95 or so. And I only stayed for a short time that time, but I remember my friend had invited me. I had just quit smoking, and I had walked in the door. It was near Easter, and this guy named Stephen Lehue was up there screaming, on a clear day you could see forever. And it was Avery Fisher Hall, 3,000 seats. It was gorgeous. I thought, show tunes. I could go here. This could be a good church for me. And then the minister at that time, it was Eric Butterworth's associate, his name, Richard, I can't remember, also I've gone blank as Richard. He was funny. I had never laughed in church before. And I thought, oh, I like this. And I went a few more times, and then, it fell away. And then January, or actually the last Sunday in December of 1996, I woke up. I'd just been home to see my family. I woke up and I thought, I need something today. And I thought, Unity, I heard the voice. I hear voices. I don't hear them out loud, but I hear them loudly in my head. And I heard, go to Unity today. So I got dressed and I ran up to Lincoln Center, and there was a new associate minister there named Paul. And he was talking about Leviticus and all those abominations to God and man. And what I found out that day is I wasn't one of them. What a relief. And I found out all those abominations, they were about a culture. They were about keeping a culture small and together. And there was a lot of practical things there. You ate shellfish then, you ate pork, you could die. I mean, there was a lot of practical stuff, but they were all on an even level. There was none that was worse than others. If you read your book, Leviticus, there's nothing that says this is worse than this one. They're not going to keep you a good Jew in that's not anti-Semitic. It's not. David here calls it Junity. We're fine. A very quick story. A couple of Christmases ago, we're lighting the Advent candle. Couldn't get the wax going. David, who calls it Junity, he comes up to try to help me. The wick is buried in. Ed Davidson, who comes here, he calls it Chempel, and he came up and he's trying to help, and Ed's wife suddenly says, "How many Jews does it take to light a Christ candle?" So anyway, but that culture, the Jewish culture of that time, that was to keep them So you procreate, you do everything you're supposed to do to maintain the family and the health and everything. So anyway, I was not an abomination. What I found out that day is I was good. Capital G, it has no opposite. That's what I walked out of that service with that day. I am good. I had always been good. I will always be good. And not only that, everybody in that sanctuary that day was good, had always been good, will always be good, and I don't have to like them. Have you noticed that the people you don't like have friends? And that's because of the love of God. That's because God is love itself. That's what we want to be very clear about. That's because love itself exists everywhere. I don't have to understand it. In fact, it has no story, and that's why I don't understand it. I just need to accept it. That love is. Love is. Love is. Love is in what I like, and love is in what I don't like. And it's all divinely designed by me for my soul's awakening. That's what I have come to understand. I used to volunteer at a place up in Milford here called Boys and Girls Village. And I would go in every week, every Wednesday, and we would sit in a circle. I was the only volunteer they'd ever let come in, and because we did a Christmas outreach here at the church. And they let me come in and work with these kids. A lot of autism. Most of these kids have come out of a hospital of some sort because either someone else has hurt them or they've hurt themselves. So they need to be away from home for the time being. And so a lot of confusion, of course, because if people don't treat you well, you have a hard time remembering that you're good. And how many of you, when you were children, were told by your adults, "Oh, you're so good. You are good, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise." I was not told that. So I began to forget that I was good. And by the time I was, brainwash. And so I sat the kids in a circle. And I went there to lead a 12-power meditation. I don't have time to go into the 12 powers today, but we have books. It's something wonderful to unity. And I highly suggest you look it up. It's similar to the chakra system. But I would start the circle with, this circle is good, and I am good in this circle. We weren't allowed to talk about God there. It was not that kind of place. And so, it still isn't. And so but we could do, this circle is good, and I'm good in this circle. Every child would say it. And then we would go around and say, "Can you say, I am good?" And each one would say that. I am good. I am good. I am good. And that's how we began to change minds and pray up the walls. To keep admitting, I am good. I don't have to feel good. And I've explained that. You don't have to feel good today to know that you are good. You don't have to be well behaved. This is about just what is underneath all that stuff. All that stuff that we keep trying to tell ourselves, well, we're not good, or we keep trying to tell each other. And the thing is, if somebody tells you you're not good, you don't have to agree with them. No matter how loudly they scream it in your face that you're not good, you are accountable for whether or not you agree with them at any age, because ignorance is not exemption from the law. And so you guys who are so young over there, and you guys who are so young over there, you don't have to agree with anyone who proclaims you're not good. The only reason, and this is what I said at Boys and Girls Village, that anyone would ever tell you you're not good or treat you as if you're not, is because they forgot. It's because they forgot that they are good. It's so simple. They forgot that they are good. Well, would you remind them? First, would you remind yourself? Would you remind them? When I was initiated into Reiki level 1, I had this wonderful Reiki master up in Saratoga, New York, my friend Joy. It was my 40th birthday weekend. And we had, Carol Von Kennel is her name. And there was 4 initiations in that weekend. And my eyes were closed to them, so she's making her symbols. I have no idea what they are. I didn't really study Reiki very well, but I like to talk. Let me say healing words. But at the end of each one, as I'm sitting there with my eyes closed, and she'd say, "And you have this power to use for good." And so that was the aha. I have power, and I have it to use for good. I have power, and I have it to use for good. I have power, and I have it to use for good. It's that simple. It is just that simple. If I am to use it for good, however, I need to consult with my superconscious mind as opposed to my egoic mind. So to keep, I have power, and I have it to use for good. Now you guys today, you have power. You have power. How do I know you have power? Well, because you're you. But the second part is, now you know you have power because I reminded you. I reminded you today both that you're good and that you have power, and so far not one person has disagreed with me. You have power and you have it to use for good. So, what I need to ask of you, those of you who have been coming to Unity for a long time, you know this. You know this, that's why you keep coming back. And I ask you, would you commit that when you hear someone, your brother, your sister, forgetting that they are good, would you first remind yourself that you are good, and then silently perhaps, or aloud, depending upon the occasion, remind your brother or your sister that they are good unconditionally, and you don't have to understand how. I ask that of you who have been coming here a long time, but now I ask of our friends, our brand new friends, who have walked up these steps today. You have power, and you have it to use for good. And so I ask you, would you consider that when you see your brother, your sister, forgetting that they are good, would you silently remind yourself, I am good? And then, would you remind them that they are good? I am good, they are good, you are good. Would you consider that? Anybody raise your hands? Anybody who would consider doing that? See, that then makes you worthy of the title, friend. That's what makes you a friend. It gives you the honor of being called friend. So you see, I am a friend to man, I am a friend to woman, I am a friend to myself. I am a friend. I am the friend, because I am the one who's going to remember today that I am good. And I am the one who's going to remember, even at the cost of my rage and my fury, that you are good. Even at the cost of my hurt and my pain, that you are good. Even at the cost of being right, I'm going to remember. Tanya's going to come up here in 1 second to sing another song. Kenneth, just coming up. Hang on, here we go. I'm going to interrupt you there.
He's right.
Yeah, all the time. Just coming up here. And it's going to sound like, in the traditional sense that this song has been done, it sounds like it's being sung to others about what not do to me. But what she's really singing about is to herself. She's talking to herself in this very familiar song. But she's going to talk to herself today about what to remember. Let's welcome back Tanya Mobley.